Today's lesson, section 6.5b, Law of Sines. Here we'll be specifically talking about the SSA case. Now this one is the ambiguous case. This one has multiple solutions or possibilities for answers because of all the different scenarios you could have. Okay. Now one thing to keep in mind, and I wrote this down here, and I'll underline it for you. Okay, we don't know angle B, angle C, and side C to begin with. Okay, so because we don't know what those are, that's what creates these different possibilities. Okay, so I'm going to go through each possibility with you. So scroll back up to the top. So the first one, now we do know angle A, B, and A, or side A. So the first one we'll denote as letter A to begin with. Okay, this one is if B is long enough and angle A is wide enough or big enough that A is too short, and because A is too short, it can't actually touch the other side, so it would be side C of this picture. So because it can't touch that, it would be no solution. So that's one option. Okay. Second option is when your angle A is a certain value, B and A are certain values where A actually just touches once and is straight up and down. Okay, that creates a right triangle in here. Okay, so that would be like if angle A was 45 or something. So in that case, and it could be anything, so it could be 33 for all you know, but it just touches straight down, so it's like a an altitude. So because it's that, we'll say B, you could have one solution. Okay, and that's actually no. So then now, letter C. Now if you notice this one's a little screwy. This is what the no solution and this one are the weird ones. This one is angle A and side B are just right, where A, the side A, can actually touch two places on the ray for angle A, so that's side C. Because we don't know side C, this is what makes it possible, because side C could be whatever it wants to be at this point. So it gives you two options for A, so that means there's two sets of solutions. That means that there's two side C's that are possible, two angle B's that are possible, and two angle C's that are possible. So it makes two sets of answers for a possible triangle to be created. And then letter D here is when angle A and angle or side B are a certain way, and then A is just too long. It's kind of probably longer than it most likely will be. So then it never actually touches C twice. So notice how if we had the line continuing out this way, it would go behind angle A, which is not possible. So it only touches side C at one spot. So then this is another possibility for one solution. So there's two different ways of getting one solution, where it could just barely touch once or be so long that it touches out, but then the arc of it would be behind it, or behind angle A. So then there'd be one solution. And then you could also have two solutions with example C and example A. There's no solution. Okay, so there's four different ways this could happen. And you just got to keep in mind that we don't know angle B and angle C and side C until we decide which category we're fitting this into. Okay, so let's try some examples here. So example 3, solve the following triangles given the following information. So letter A, we're given angle A is 45, side A is 7 square root of 2, and side B is 7. So let's create a triangle to help describe this. Now I don't know if it's going to touch yet. Okay? So first I need to figure out what angle B is. Okay? And then from there, I'll actually be able to decide, because the sine of angle B will tell me whether there's one, two, or no solutions at all. Okay? So let's set up our law of sines, okay, that we learned from the other video. So sine of 45 over 7 squared root of 2, and then sine of some angle B over 7. Okay, we'll still do the same thing. Cross multiply 7 sine of 45 equals 7 squared root of 2 sine of B. Okay. So now I want to divide both sides by 7 squared root of 2. Okay, and let's go ahead and plug that into our calculator to see what sine of B is. That gives me 1/2. Okay, because it gives me a value or an answer. Okay, that's the first step. Now, here the next step is deciding if this is going to be one solution, two solutions, and no solutions. But because I got a value that's in between -1 to 1, that actually gives me something that I want. And you're not going to get any negatives here, so it's really in between 0 and 1 for a value. Okay? So because I got something there, then we can cross off the no solution part of this. Okay? The next part is saying, looking at your unit circle. If you have that handy, I would take a peek at it. Okay? So here, for sine of B, if you were looking at what angle, so the inverse of sine of 1/2 for B would be possible, okay? That would be angles 30 degrees or 150, okay? Now, what you have to ask yourself is, can I create a triangle with the 30, and can I create a triangle with the 150? So go back to your 45. Okay, so 45 plus 30 gives you 75. So there's enough value or enough area for another angle to be added to that to make 180, right? Let's look at 150. So 150 plus 45 gives you 95 degrees. So because adding that to those two gives us 195, that's not possible because it's greater than 180. So then 150 doesn't work. But because this one gives you 75, that's still less than 180 for a triangle, so that's okay. So the only solution you can have is 30 degrees for this triangle, so you have the one solution kind. Now you don't know if it's going to be a right angle or not until later for your angle C, but it's not a big deal. Okay? But you found angle B, so that's the important part. That's this one over there. Okay, so then next, let's find the other values. So since I have B, just like the other ones, I want to set up to find my C. So since I have B, 180 minus 45 gives me 135, and then minus the 30 gives me 105. So this is angle C. Okay, so angle C is easy to find at that point. And then from there, now I need to find side C using law of sines. So then sine of 105 over C equals, now you can use either one at this point because they're all exact values at this juncture. So let's just go back to sine A is 45 over 7 squared root of 2 Okay, cross multiply. Divide. So C, if I punch that into a calculator, I'll get 45, or sorry, I was just thinking about the angle, 13.52. Okay, so I found side C, angle C, and angle B in this case. Okay, so that's the one solution kind. Okay, letter B, I have angle A, and B, so let's make our triangle again. You don't have to write the picture. I just always find that it's easier to visualize what we're talking about when we have it right here in front of our face. Okay, so same thing, I want to set up a lot of signs for this. Okay, so I want to cross multiply. So if I plug all that into my calculator, I get 0.912. Now, do your inverse of that value, that ratio. So if you find your angle, okay, so inverse of that is 65.82. Okay, now do 180 minus that to find the other option. That gives us 114.18. And now check. Can you get another triangle with both of those? The first one you found, obviously, because 43 plus...
One clarification.
Sorry about that interruption. So going back, if you look at 65.82, that obviously works with 43.1. Now here, if I look at 114.8 and 43.1, if you add those two together, that gives you 157.28. So there, if you were thinking about a triangle, you could sneak in a tiny angle in between or for a third one for a triangle. So this one is actually an okay angle. Okay, so we have two answers. So this one's going to be the two solution one, where this side is just long enough, like if we go back up to the picture, we can create a triangle that touches there, but we can also have another side that's 186.2 and have a triangle there, because this is 114 and then this one will be something super tiny. Okay, so we'll have to do two sets of answers here. So we'll have to first, let's go with the 65.82, and then we will find the other angle for that. So 180 minus 43.1 minus 65.82 will equal 71.08 degrees. That'll be angle C. Okay, for that set you have two angles now. Now you can find the opposite side of C. So for that we would do sine of 43.1 over the opposite side, which is 186.2, equals sine of 71.08 over C. So we'll cross multiply Okay, divide by so C for that set of answers. So multiplying all that out gets me 257.79 for a side. Okay, so that's one set of answers. Now going with the other angle B, we want to find the other set of answers. So if I have, let's do this in a different color. So if I have 180 subtract 43.1 and 114.18, that gives me, for angle C, a value of 22.72 degrees. Okay, so there's your angle C answer. And then we need to do the same thing. So sine of 43.1 over 186.2 equals sine of 22.72 over C, cross multiply, gives you C sine of 43.1 equals 186.2 sine of 22.72, divide by sine of 43.1, and then C should equal 105.25. Okay, so you have one set of answers with angle B of 65.82, angle C 71.08, and side C is 257.79. The other set of answers is for angle B is 114.18, angle C is 22.72, and side C is 105.25. So that's a two-solution scenario. Okay, here the last one. We have angle 42 for A. Side B is 122. Side A is 70. Okay, so we need to do our ratios here. Just like we did for the last ones. Okay, so cross multiply. Okay, so here, if I take this and plug it into my calculator, I get 1.17. Okay, now remember what I said about that, the first two, is that that value needs to land in between 0 and 1, since we're talking about positive angles here that are in, like, kind of in the in between 0 and 90 degrees. So sine should be in between 0 and 1. So since sine can't have a value that's greater than 1, then this means that it's not possible to have any answers. And even if you tried to do the inverse of sine for 1.17, your calculator would say domain error. Okay? So this one is a no solution, which everybody likes because that means that they're done at that point. Okay, so those are the different scenarios for the SSA case, the ambiguous case for your law of sines. This is the only one that's kind of really difficult with what you're doing. You just have to do that first law of sines, and then from there figure out which set of solutions you should have. Okay, have fun.